Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you well?
Yes.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Speak for yourself. So, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. I want to share something from my heart, from my inspiration, and it's a pleasure to do this. So, let me see. Yes. Who am I? Can you answer that question?
Yes.
How many of you feel you have some kind of answer for that question? Yeah. Well, you should have an answer to it. I mean, if you are a member of the Family Federation and you have studied Divine Principle, the Divine Principle actually explains who we are. Yes? So we are God's children. Yes? We are created in God's image and likeness. Am I right? Yes? But going along with that basic definition, then the question is, well, why am I here? Do you know why you're here? I mean, you're here today for a reason, but why are you on this planet? Do you know what your purpose is? Does the Divine Principle explain?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it talks about the 3 blessings, that we should grow to mature our character, become an ideal person, that we should create an ideal family and an ideal world. I mean, that's the basic formula. So we're here to do that, and we all want to be the best we can. And of course, the purpose is to be happy, to be joyful. And actually, God created us because he wants to be joyful. Yeah? And then another question is, where did I come from? Of course, you could say, well, you came from your parents, but actually we came from God. Yes? We came from God. That's our true identity. We are spiritual beings in a physical body, but we came from God. Where is God? Well, you could say God. We come from the spiritual world. That's our eternal home. Yes, and the other question is, where am I going? Do you know where you're going? Well, again, Divine Principle teaches that we live on this earth for a certain time period, but we will leave our physical body and our spirit body will go to the spiritual world. And of course, we want to be in a place of love, yes. But the spirit world is a bit complicated because it depends upon people's level of maturity. And so we're aware that actually hell exists because people who are evil are in a place which is pretty dark. And there are many different realms, but according to the Divine Principle, we have some clarity. So what does our Father say about all this? Well, what does he say? He says, God created human beings as his object partners in order to share love with them. Hence, human beings are the very bodies of God. We are God's body. Does that mean we are God? I would suggest we are God. Yes. We're not God the creator, but God dwells in us, and therefore we are divine beings. But and also he says, God created human beings in order to assume a physical form and dwell in our bodies. So God wanted to manifest in this world through human beings, originally through Adam and Eve. But of course, Adam and Eve, they fell. They didn't embody God's love. But actually, God's very purpose for creating each one of us is to assume a form. So we are meant to be God's body. We may not feel like it, but that's who we're meant to be. What else did he say? God invested himself 1% in the creation of human beings to fashion them into the most valuable, ideal, and perfect form. That's how valuable we are. Even if we feel, I feel life is a struggle, or I'm not perfect, and I don't feel God all the time. Actually, from God's viewpoint, we are the most ideal, perfect form. Trouble is, we don't recognize it. I think it's a state of consciousness. Okay? So, if we look at a little baby, you could say baby is the moment that God manifested physically. This is a moment when God went from being in the mind of God manifested through a little baby. So when you see a baby, do you see God there? And what about animals when they're born? A little baby dog, a baby deer, and a baby cat. That is God manifested. I have a cat. When I see the cat, I see such purity and such beauty. But we are created to be even greater than animals, are we not? But when we look at ourselves in the mirror, do we see the face of God? Do we recognize I am divine? And of course, these are children. 2 of them are mine. I mean, not mine, grandchildren. Grandchildren. When you see them, everyone is an individual. Everyone is an expression of God's nature. Do you see anything bad there? Of course, children can be naughty because they're immature. But actually they are what's amazing for me is that God manifests through millions, billions of unique individuals. Now, in the divine principle, it says we are individual embodiments of truth. What does that mean? Well, we say God has both an internal and an external aspect. So our internal part, our heart, our mind, external form, our body, but also God, male and female. So God manifests through men and through women. So all I'm trying to do today is express how incredible we are. When God sees us, his love is unconditional. He doesn't look at us and say, you've got this mistake and that mistake, you're not good enough. When God sees us, he sees himself in us. Why does God suffer? Because we deny who we are. We deny the God within us. We persecute ourselves. What else does Father say? All human beings are created to say, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. This is everyone's fully attainable goal. When we fully comprehend the design for man in God's concept of creation, we will understand that perfection is within our grasp. Perfection is in our grasp. It's in our mind. It's in our heart. It's there. It's just there. Right? 2,000 years ago, Jesus said, I am in the Father, the Father is in me. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. And then people said, how dare you? How dare you put yourself on a level with God? Until now, through Christianity, we place God so high up in heaven and push people so low in hell that there has been an unbridgeable gap between us. We've been unable to realize that God is so close, so real, so approachable, and that we can even dwell with God. Father said this many years ago, right? It's because of our Christian background, or you could say all through history, we feel separate from God. We don't feel worthy. We don't feel good enough. But it's all in our concepts. So I found, I always like to read books, and I found this book. It's called The Wisdom of the Council, Channeled Messages for Living Your Purpose. This lady, Sarah Landon, several years ago, she started receiving messages. She says from a group called the Wisdom Council, a group of ascended masters. And actually, if you search for books on channeled messages, there are many books today. Of course, you could be skeptical and say, well, can you really believe this? Well, this particular book and this particular lady, what she writes really resonates with me, and I find it very uplifting. And a book she recently wrote is called The 15 Success Principles for Self-Realization, Channeled Wisdom to Create Your Reality and Expand Your Perspective. We have the divine principle, which gives the big picture, but I'm always searching to understand more deeply, and I find inspiration from many different sources, which do not, for me, it does not contradict the principle, it enhances my understanding, or maybe uses vocabulary which is a little different and maybe a little more accessible. So, in this book, let me express these 15 principles. This is the first principle. You are source energy that you focused into a physical body. Now, I've always had difficulty with this idea. Well, I chose my parents. I pre-existed and I decided to come into this form. And so I've been trying to understand this because so many spiritual people today say the same thing. What does it mean? But if we understand that actually we we are God, that if we think God is the source energy, God focused his energy into each person, then actually what it does, it says, I'm not just a random person on this earth with no purpose. Actually, each one of us planted within our DNA, we have a program within us, a specific path. So if you take any historical person, if you take true parents, if you take Jesus, if you take Buddha, if you take any great person who has achieved great things in history, there was something within them, they were guided because that was their path. And I'm firmly convinced that on this earth, I have a path. I hope I'm going on that path. Actually, I feel very blessed because I put myself in God's hands and asked for God's guidance. And I feel so many blessings. And I feel within myself, there's something within me, and it's the God within me, which is really searching for truth and wanting to share truth. And so me being a teacher is part of that. That's me. That's my unique role. But each one of us here has a unique role, not random. Each one of us is special, unique. And if you are part of the Family Federation and you joined this movement in your 20s and gave up, your studies or your work, that's quite incredible. So you are special. You are special, but we have to recognize how special we are. We are beautiful creations of God. Every one of us is unique. Some are musical, some are into sport, some are academics, some are plumbers. It doesn't matter. Everyone is unique and special. So, and this, in the book it says this, you came from source. Of course, we use the word God. You came from source, you will return to source. Source is what you are. You came from the divine, you will return to the divine. The divine is what you are. You came from God, you will return to God because God is what you are. I believe this, but it's also a battle in my mind. It's uplifting because this whole idea is I am God. I am God. That's why they persecuted Jesus, because they said, I am in the Father, the Father's in me. Seen the Father, you've seen me. Seen me, seen the Father. How dare you? How dare you claim to be God? Doesn't God want us to acknowledge his presence within us? He created us. Principle number 2. You are everything you wish to be. You already are. It is all within you. It always has been. It always will be. So, we understand according to life, we go through stages of life. It takes time. Yes? And we understand we have these two natures, the original nature and the fallen nature. But when do you get out of this? When do you get rid of your fallen nature and just become the person you weren't meant to be? Because it can be an endless journey. You never get rid of it, because if you recognize you have two natures, you always have two natures. What this is saying is you already have everything. You already are what you're meant to be. It's all within you. It always has been. It always will be. It's like recognizing we already are divine, rather than say, I bet I've got fallen nature. I've got this problem. I've got that problem. No. I find it quite liberating to think, I'm already, I have everything. God gave me everything I need. I mean, he gave me this physical body and my mind and my heart. He gave me the ability to grow. And it's fantastic. For me, it's liberating to say, I already have everything I wish to be. It doesn't mean to say I can't grow and the things I need to change, but who I really am, God gave me everything. So I should recognize that. Embody the master that you are. When you're in doubt of yourself, or you are denying that you are loved, worthy, and more than enough, you hold yourself in separation. This lowers your vibration, limiting your consciousness, and doesn't allow you to summon the source energy available to you in every moment. So here, when you doubt yourself, deny your value, then you feel separate from God. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. When you feel separate, it lowers your vibration. God's vibration is very high, vibration of love, right? But if I'm feeling I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, that's why I can't access God's love, because I am low, my vibration is lowered, so God cannot reach us. People say, why doesn't God change the world? Because God can't reach us, because we're on this lower vibration of consciousness. So this thing doesn't allow us to summon the source energy, then we cannot feel God's presence, which is available every single moment. God is available for us. We need to raise our vibration. So, this is an example, different vibrations. So, ultra low, when you feel fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, depression, despair, grief, and apathy. Even if, if a person's depressed and I go up to them and try to help them, I can't reach them. Even if I have an enormous amount of love, I can't reach them because they are stuck in a certain mindset. Very low, discouragement, judgment, anger, or seeking revenge. Also pretty hard to reach people when they're in that state of mind. Low, impatient, frustrated, bored, doubtful, and worried. So if somebody you know, close to you, is a bit like that, they're upset about things, frustrated, it's hard to reach them because they're stuck there. Higher, contentment and ease, hope and encouragement. I like that. But the highest, love, joy, gratitude, passion, excitement, enthusiasm. So that's why each day, if we raise our vibration, if we think positively and have positive emotions and we act upon them, we feel God's presence. That's why every day when I pray, I always thank God for all of my blessings in life, and I feel great. When you have gratitude, it's wonderful. So actually, we don't want to be on the low scale, we want to be on the high. So we actually should be a transformer. We're here to transform ourselves, transform the world. So a transformer is someone who comes forth to transform negative patterns that are often generational or ancestral. People often get stuck in the same unconscious patterns of sexual, physical, or emotional abuse, addiction, or negativity. And because of the learned behaviors that hold them on a lower consciousness and lower vibrational frequency, unknowingly and unconsciously, few, if ever, get out of these negative patterns. They just keep being born into the same pattern. They carry on the pattern because they aren't consciously aware of anything different. But a transformer might say, no more, this pattern stops with me. I know I am from God. I know I am divine. I'm going forth in my life, I'm going to transform that negativity, or better said, transform unconscious patterns or behavior, and I'm going to create a new story of love, consciousness, compassion, abundance, well-being. I am going to bring a consciousness, I'm creating a new path. Be a transformer. Yeah? Be a force of good, a force of God. So let's return these questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Where did I come from? Where am I going? So, from this book it says, when you remember who you really are, why you are here, where you came from, and where you're going, there's no more illusion, because it's an illusion. You know who you are, you know you're here, you know your source, you will return to source because source is what you are. Thank you for listening.